Hi and welcome back. I'm DevPool. My whole purpose is to help beginners and juniors to succeed in the tech industry. And in this video, I'll be giving out tips that can help an intern during the interview process. But not just an intern, to be honest, it's anybody even who is applying for a full-time position. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because last week we had a meeting at a company where we'll be given 30 minutes to interview a person. And I'm like, wait, 30 minutes? That's not enough time for me to get to know a person. That's not enough time for me to ask right questions to a person because I don't want to miss anything important. And you as a candidate will still be given a small technical problem that you have to solve. And since we've been given 30 minutes to interview each one of you, I'm not going to be able to remember all of you if all of you did great, did good, evenly. But if you did evenly, then it's going to be easier for me to mix you up with somebody else. So the type of tips I'll be giving you are the tips that will also help you to stand out just a little bit or maybe a lot, depending on where we're standing. So now let's jump right in and let's get to the first tip. And the tip number one is choose your best technical skill. And you want to do that because if you are, let's say, applying for a position that has to do with C++, but you're not feeling too comfortable with it, or in fact, you might not even like it, you might like web development more, then apply for web development. So try to identify first where your best skills are and what would you like to do in the future. Because that intern position or full-time junior position, whatever it might be in your case, is really, really important. That's what's gonna drive your future. That is the first job goes on your resume. When you're gonna be applying for things, that's the first job every recruiter, every person will be looking at. So again, choose your best technical skill that you're gonna love using it in the future. And then tip number two, study. And it does sound a little bit weird, study, but when it comes to interviews, there's actually a lot of hidden things in there. So what I mean by study is not just technical things related, but as well as when it comes to interview, the whole interview process itself. I mean, normally we have a phone call first with a candidate, see if we like them or not. Next, we have a second type of a process where you'll come into the office, you'll be given a small technical problem, we'll have a chat with you, and then there's going to be a last process if you pass the first and second one, where we'll have another small discussion with you, we'll just check some other things with you and take a look at how you are as a person, because for us, it's not just technical skills that are important, but also your personality traits. By personality traits, I mean like how friendly are you with people, because I'll be working with you every day, you'll be working with other people every day, and if I can communicate with you, if you seem to be the type of a person who just always lashes off, or whatever the thing might be, then I'm not going to be working with you. And tip number three, practice with your friends. You want to do that because that's why you'll be a bit more competitive with your friend. And as well as you can learn from each other. I mean, that's what I did in my case, for example. When I was applying for jobs, I would try to practice with my friends, or I would just try to build a small project that I will be showing to my friends. And once I'll go on an interview, I'll be a lot more comfortable with either questions they're gonna ask me or whatever the thing it might be, because number one, I have covered my technical side. Number two, I have practiced a little bit. It doesn't matter if it's in front of the mirror, preferably with your friend, because you can have some sort of interaction there. Tip number four, applying to jobs. And when you're applying to jobs, don't just apply to 2 jobs a week, 2 jobs a month, and that's it, call it a day. You want to apply to 10 jobs a day. That's what I did, and I'll be getting a lot of interviews, I'll be making a lot of mistakes, a lot of rejections, and I kept on learning from each one of them. I wasn't feeling bad about it that I got rejected because I already knew what type of mistake I made, and I was able to go back to it, fix it up a little bit, and then go back to the next interview again. And you want to do something similar. When you are applying for jobs, you get rejected, learn from it. Or if you can ask them a question or what they didn't like about you, ask. Tip number five, explain projects that you can show and explain. And you want to do that because and in my case, when I was applying for jobs, I had 2 projects that I had to show. One had to do with like the whole social media website, and the other one was just a challenge. And the first one, social website, when I was showing that project, I was able to show my backend, front-end part of it, and I was able to explain a lot of things that I was using it, how's it working, show my database schema, and when I was interviewed with the tech lead, he really liked that project. And when we moved on to a second part, which was a challenge project, and the challenge was 10-hour challenge where I'll be using an Angular framework, and I'm building out single-page application that is also responsive on all the devices. And when I showed both of those things, actually they did have a coding challenge for me already on a piece of paper, but they didn't give it to me. So later down the line, and now when I asked them a question why they didn't give me the coding challenge, well, as it turns out, it's because they were impressed by 2 of those projects. So when you go on an interview, try to have a few projects that you're proud of, you can show, explain it, and who knows, maybe you're not gonna need to do any coding challenges, and you might just get hired. Tip number 6, writing code on a whiteboard. And you want to do that because when you'll be going on an interview, you'll be writing a lot of code. Well, you'll be writing code on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, and you're not going to have an editor for you that will tell you, hey, you missed a comma here, or doesn't have any friendly UI out there. So when you write things on a paper, you can actually memorize it much better, and you'll be making fewer mistakes. So once you go on an interview, you'll start to write things out. You'll notice that, oh, it's actually pretty easy. And once you write it out once, in fact, you can even compile the code because you knew exactly where the even comma is supposed to be, a specific bracket, or whatever it is. Tip number 7, when you're solving a problem on a whiteboard, try to talk through it analytically. And what I mean is, when you're writing things out on a board, if you're not talking to me, you're not talking to an interviewer, then how do I know that what you're solving is the right solution? To me, what is important is how you came to your conclusion, which means I want to see your thinking process. If I don't see that and I see you have solved it, well, I don't know how you came to that conclusion. As a matter of fact, you didn't solve the problem because, let's say, this was the problem that you've been given. Build me a function that accepts an array and return me the repetitive numbers. You're like, okay, sure, let me just do that, super easy. Well, you just failed because you didn't ask me any questions about the array. For instance, can it be a nested array? Array within array? Well, the answer is yes. And since you didn't ask me that question, you just lost half the points because your function doesn't solve what it needs to be solving. So when you read a question, don't just start writing code right away. Think about it, talk to me, talk to the interviewer, make sure you understand the problem. As you're writing it out, talk out loud. For example, if you're building in JavaScript, give me an example or explain it to me. Why are you using let? Why not using const, var, like why? And those are my tips. And let me give you an extra tip, a bonus one. When you have done with an interview, remember how I said at the beginning of the video that when you've been interviewed and let's say all the candidates did good and you're here and everyone else on the same level? Well, for me, it's going to be very, very hard to filter out who is the best, who is not the best candidate for a position because everyone did this exact same. It's like I can just roll a dice on you and okay, you came up, you didn't. So the way you can stand out a bit more after is once you're done, try to mail it to the interviewer 2 days after. And that email is pretty much a thankful mail. Thank you for taking the time for interviewing you because our time is limited and we do have to interview not just you for 30 minutes, but there are other candidates which can take very long time. A lot of candidates is really, really tiring for us because for you it's just 30 minutes. For us, it can be 8 hours since there's a lot of you. And it's not just one day, it can be multiple days, depending on how many candidates they are. So at the end, what you want to do is send this good mail or thankful mail to your interviewer so they can remember you by, also thanking for taking their time. And we'll be making my decision. I'll take a look at, well, other candidates, they didn't mail me with a thank you mail, but you did. So you're already standing out a little bit because I can say as a person, well, I'll be able to work with you easy, or it's going to be a good, friendly environment. So I'll pick you just because for the sake of that mail. So every little thing counts when it comes to an interview, even when it's the end of it. But that's it, guys. Those are my tips. and bonuses. I hope it helped you. If I missed any of the tips that you might know, please leave a comment down below. This helps others as well. And thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe as it helps. And I'll see you in the next video.